I used to brew coffee at like 7 p.m. and I was like, I'm just gonna stay up all night making beats. I remember specifically saying, I'm gonna drop 500 Frank Ocean type beats. That was my goal.
In this video, I'm gonna be talking with the crazy talented producer Rrarebear, who's got songs with Rod Wave, Kehlani, and most recently, Trippie Redd. Along with that, he's gotten over 25 million views on his YouTube beat channel and over 77,000 subscribers. Today, he's gonna show us exactly how he gets placements with major artists while selling beats online. And he's gonna break down how he made the beat for Save Me Please by Trippie Redd. Let's go. So we're here with the GOAT, Rrarebear. What's up, man? Thank you so much for being here.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing real good, man. It's 4:30 New York time. Went for a swim earlier at the local pool, and now I'm talking to you, so let's do it.
Dude, I would love to know, like, what got you into making beats?
So I started playing bass. It was probably like 2004, 2005. My older brother was a drummer in a band, so he kind of told me like, yo, you should just pick up the bass and start playing. So I bought the bass and I just started jamming with him off like Red Hot Chili Peppers songs and the Vines, and then from there we kind of formed like a blues rock band, and then I kind of evolved into like my own band with my buddy, and then I started playing keyboards in that band, and then I kind of slowly got into acoustic guitar. I was really into songwriting. I went to college in Oneonta, which is like a state school in New York, and then from there, after graduating, I was working at this music shop and I was still in a band. We were still touring. I would wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and I was just like sending out these emails to these like local venues and these local bands to try to get them to play with us, and I was kind of booking the whole thing myself. So we were doing good, but then when it kind of got to the point where I was 25, 26, that's when I found online this dude. His username was Live Off Beats. He had a whole course, and I remember I bought his course because I didn't really make beats, but I also like had been making instrumentals like my entire life. So then from there, I was like, damn, I'm gonna go into this YouTube game and just see if I can make some extra money. And then it pretty much just took off from there.
Bro, that's crazy. I feel like there's a lot of people I'll talk to that they're producers now, but they started playing in bands and they started playing in groups. So you started in like 2014 then?
I think it was March 2015. And then from there, it just kind of slowly grew. Anything that was selling on YouTube, I was kind of like, I'm gonna try that. But it wasn't until I listened to Mick Jenkins' The Waters. They used a lot of guitars, like a lot of like reverby guitars. And I remember thinking like, damn, I should use some guitars on some of these beats. I remember specifically saying, I'm gonna drop 500 Frank Ocean type beats. That was my goal. And then I pretty much just went really hard from there.
That's crazy. That's so inspiring. It sounds so cool that you were like one of the first people to be getting in there and doing it. By the way, how did you get your name? I've always wondered this.
The word Rrarebear came from, it was like somebody that I knew and their name was spelled out, and I rearranged all the letters of their name, like just for fun. And it said, I am a rare bear. And I remember putting 2 R's at it because that was like what the name was, so I had to do that. And I remember I circled the word Rrarebear and I was like, that would be a really sweet name. And then I think like a week later is when I started uploading type beats, and I remember just being like, I'm just gonna call this Rrarebear.
That's a sick story. I love that. So when did you first go full-time making music?
I started uploading beats on YouTube March 2015. I used to brew coffee at like 7 p.m. and I was like, I'm just gonna stay up all night making beats. And I was so like sleep deprived at my job in those days, but I knew, I'm like, dude, this is just a numbers game. Like, I wanna just get so many beats out on YouTube as possible. But it wasn't until October 2016 I quit the job full time. So it was probably about a year and a half later.
And then you were just going full time just off selling beats online?
Yeah. 100%.
And what did it feel like when you were able to do it? Like, did your parents be like, yo, what is this? Or your friends are like, hey, this isn't sustainable. You know, like, what did people think, or how did you feel at that time?
I think it was definitely a little vague. Like when I told people that I sell beats online, people are kind of like, what? I don't understand what that is. They think I'm like selling vegetable beats, like I'm a beet farm. Yeah, my parents are really cool. Like, they're really supportive. And like, I think after college, they're pretty much like, everybody sort of has to walk their own path, and like, they can't really tell you what to do or what not to do. I'm lucky in that regard. For sure.
What's your typical schedule look like?
Now I space it out like a little bit more, but I still try to get like the bulk of my work done more or less in the morning. That's usually like my first, priority is to make a beat and upload it. I still just try to stay inspired like 24/7. Like, even if I'm not 100% feeling it, like I'll still try to cook something up. I'm a big believer in just like let it happen, like whatever you're feeling and whatever you want to play that day, just play it.
Yeah. That's awesome. What are the biggest mistakes that you see YouTube producers or just producers in general making?
I feel like my answer to this has changed a lot, because I feel like I would say like, oh, like they don't stick in a lane or not focusing on like keywords. But I think now you have to prioritize just creation. I'm saying like all producers who watch this interview, after this interview, go make a beat and put it out. It's so easy now to get distracted by content that kind of like creates this illusion that you're doing something for yourself. You're trying to look for these quick fixes, like this keyword is working right now and this keyword isn't. I'm a believer now that if you start a channel, you should put out 100 beats and then you should reassess like where you're at, because I think you just need a huge sample size before you can really figure out what's working and what's not working. If your sample size isn't big enough, it's just not enough for you to really realize what's working. So I think producers need to just prioritize creating more and more and more.
That's a really good tip, and I think it's something that's overlooked. And especially, I think the cool thing is in the beginning, no one's really paying attention to you, so you can kind of like grow without a lot of eyes on you, which is actually a benefit.
I think there's a lot of value in just trying a lot of things out and then just doubling down on what works.
And then like kind of just to go into like more of the placement world, what was your first big placement and how did that come about?
I think the first one that I really had was through Alamo Records, and it was Rrarebear, called Boom. I think another one of the first big ones that I did was Fora, his track I Still Love You. The way I got that placement was funny because first of all, I made that beat on my phone through GarageBand. That beat was released, it was called Goodbye, and there was a singer who used that beat on one of her songs and she released it on SoundCloud. One of Fora's producers found her song and sampled it.
That's so sick though, that it happened on the iPhone and it probably had such a vibe to it with her vocal and then they sampled that.
Such a vibe. I always crack the joke, if you actually listen really hard in the back of that, I'm not even kidding, you can hear my dad like in the background say something, but they pitched the sample so it's like lower in tone. I remember I DM'd him like that night on Instagram and I was like, yo, I produced this, let me know if you need any more. And I did not think he was hit me back, but he hit me back and he was like, yo, let's keep working. And then from there, I always kept sending him stuff. And that was like the first big artist I was like, damn, like you can just reach out to these guys and they'll like probably respond. That's kind of crazy.
Is there any tips that you have for like working with artists specifically or getting placements like this? Is there anything that seems to work for you?
I still think one of the best things you can do is like find a key term and drop a bunch of beats on YouTube and have like a catalog and then kind of try to DM artists directly or smaller artists that sound like them. If you do make a connection, if somebody does like something, like say you put out a reel or you put out some sort of video and you see that somebody liked it, that was cool, then I would DM them directly. Hop on an opportunity like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you did Save Me Please by Trippie Redd, which came out recently. Tell us how that came about and what that process was like.
That was another beat that I had actually made on my phone. I used to just record outside and like you would hear like wind and like bird sounds and stuff, but I released that beat, it was called Sun Boy. But then I had the idea, I'm like, man, people really like this beat. So then I was like, you know what I should do? I'm just gonna re-record this beat in my studio and make it like really clean. So it's all gonna be the same parts. And again, it just started to do really well again. And I was like, man, maybe people just really love this beat. And then about 6 months later, I just saw Trippie Redd was posting clips. I can assume it was from YouTube, but I really don't know because I sent that beat out to a lot of different artists.
Well, awesome, bro. Can we break down your Trippie song?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it. Let me grab my guitar and I'll play it here. So the Trippie Redd Save Me Please beat, no drums. It's really just like a loop and there's a bunch of different parts, but the main chord is C sharp major 7, and then it goes to this, which would be like an A flat major 7, and then F minor 7, and then E flat major, and then the whole like feel of it would be. And if I'm gonna pull up the chain, you're gonna laugh. This is so simple. So I got an Oxford compressor on it, a Cubase stock plugin, which is just like a little bit of a stereo like a stereo enhancer, and then I just have an EQ. The second part above it is this kind of airy sort of like second melody that uses an open string. I got the capo on the first fret. That's the same plugin as well, or the same chain as well. And then the last one, the only difference is on this last melody here, I have a delay, like a stereo delay. And I do use this, it's called Camel Crusher. And that's pretty much it. And then there's one track that's just a strummed guitar, actually. This one was really just like a loop, like a thick loop. It wasn't really structured out, and that's pretty much it. It's 6 tracks, and that's it. Trippie Redd.
So fire, man. Thank you for doing that. It's really cool to see it. So it was great talking with you today, bro. I appreciate it. Like I said, you're a huge inspiration. Thanks for sharing your time, putting us on game on what it's like to, you know, be a successful producer.
Thank you, man. And right back at you too, man. I appreciate you as well.
Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yep, you too, man. All right, take care.